Hi, it's Time Agent Brendan here again, looking at the mixed messaging and the contradictions in the mission statements and marketing coming out of our lords and masters of the universe at Bad Wolf. And this on the eve of the dawn of a new era, of a new season. And we all want it to work. Will it work? And I just want us to look at whether there are portents of doom or portents of promise of what's to come. So we'll be looking at another Russell Davies interview. I said to you last week and the week before, I was hoping we didn't have to, but he's selling the series. So let's take a look. And obviously, as your time agent, Brendan, we will look carefully at what's been said. So if we go straight into our first bit of evidence here on what should be good messaging in a way. Russell Davies was talking about how he's an experienced wordsmith and he stands by his decision to be strict over his words. He relays a tale, and I'll show you in a minute, about an actor who didn't follow that. So basically, yeah, I know what I'm doing. You follow what I say. I've slaved over every word. I've sat there until 2 a.m. deciding on whether a sentence begins with and, but, or the, or yet. I'm very specific. I think you allow too much improvisation, you'll end up with a lot of repetition. Now, I've put that in red because, okay then, RTD, Russell T Davies, experienced award-winning writer, you know what you're doing and you want that respected by the actors. You don't want one word changed. Okay, so I get from that your philosophy is don't change things. The snag is he has changed a lot of Doctor Who. So he's not quite respecting other people unless they're his friends like Chris Chibnall. And I'll be honest with you, I am saying that specifically. Things invented by Terence Dicks, things invented by various other writers, Robert Holmes and that, Verity Lambert, all the way back, open season. So don't you mess with my scripts. I did it once and I didn't like it. But the warning bit is, I think if you allow too much improvisation, you'll find a lot of repetition. Oh gosh, that's a great thing to live by, isn't it, Russell T Davies? You mean like saying Alonzi? You mean like going what, every time David Tennant's in it? Or I don't want to go. Or let's have lots of relationship soap opera nonsense in the TARDIS. Yeah, I get what you mean, Russell T Davies. I totally get what you mean. Too much repetition is a bad thing. And when he says he doesn't want improvisation in scripts, because he's a writer, I, as a fan, don't want improvisation in the show. I'm happy to experiment with one or two things because that's always fine. But you're improvising your version of Doctor Who. And this has always concerned me a bit. New Who was different to Classic Who. I'm not sure if it had to be, but it was made to be. But he doesn't like anyone messing with his writing, which I find a fascinating thing because you live by my rules, only until I want to break my rules. He talks about one actor in one episode many years ago who he wrote all the dialogue. And he said basically when we did the edits, that character just disappeared. He missed the rhythms. He missed where the editing bits were going to be. So his character, he said, I just watched it in the edit. I watched that character disappear. And now he's never discussed as a great Doctor Who character. I wonder who that was. I mean, my mind was boggled by that. But I thought, okay, so a writer has rewritten the script and it's broken the rhythms of RTD's way of doing things. But RTD is very particular, and there are other ways of doing it, I'll be quite honest. Now, the other thing I wanted to look at while we just set out our stall for our discussion tonight is the argument here where he says, obviously he doesn't like changing the script, but he also then says, the classic show Doctor Who, it's one long story that's never stopped. It's a great survivor and it survives by being itself. And again, you go, yeah, that makes me pleased. I like this sound of Russell T Davies. He's going to protect the show. He's going to be the custodian. But it's only when you look closer, you realize that you're getting lied to or you're being deceived, or he's trying to please a lot of different audiences and be all things to all men. It's a great survivor and it survived by being itself. Yes, leave it alone. It doesn't need tampering with, is how I read that. Isn't that how you read that? But it seems to me, from all the evidence we've discussed and more I'll show you today, that's not what's happening. So while he says leave it be, he doesn't really allow that to happen. Davros, sonic screwdriver, bi-generation, a skateboarding TARDIS, timeless children. Do you want any more evidence? But he's not about change. He doesn't like change. Okay? Now, one thing I did like the sound of, and this does sound like somebody who understands Doctor Who, saying that basically Doctor Who, as a program, it's about freedom, absolute freedom. The Doctor doesn't have a boss. No one ever tells him off. He basically lives the life of a child. He goes where he wants, does what he wants. I think if the show keeps tapping into that, it never goes wrong. I've put that bit in green because I'm thinking, yes, do what it's always done. It's a survivor. Leave it alone. But you'll also see there that I've put a bit in red, which I find more questionable. He goes where he wants and he does what he wants, says the great Doctor Who superfan RTD. Well, the TARDIS is a bit more erratic than that, isn't it? He goes where he wants. In New Who he does, but actually we know that the TARDIS, it has a random landing effect, really. And to be honest, we're always, I mean, in Wild Blue Yonder, when he landed within in a millisecond of Donna Noble being blown up on that spaceship, the old-fashioned TARDIS never would have done that, would it? It was impossible. So we've got another shorthand, neat trick to make New Who punchier and faster and lighter and lacking substance. So I don't agree with that because the TARDIS was much more unpredictable than that. So the Doctor goes where he wants and does what he wants. I think William Hartnell's first Doctor would be quite shocked because didn't the first Doctor say, have you ever wondered what it's like to be a wanderer in the fourth dimension? A wanderer, you know, you don't know where you're going. You don't have a mission statement. You don't have a target destination. You don't see it as a roller coaster ride to show off to a 19-year-old girl, which is what it's turned into. Trying to come with me? Here, I'll show you a bit of history. I'll show you the future. I'll do a bit of this, and aren't I the kingpin? There's an element of that, it seems to me, when you really listen to the script, when you go back over. So I don't agree with that, superfan RTD. Okay, he goes on though. He's always been a big believer in Doctor Who's ability to be anything it wants to be. It's clear that he's not lost that vision for what Doctor Who should always be, says this interviewer. Doctor Who's ability to be anything it wants to be. You see, within that very safe looking statement is a lot of danger. It's a minefield, isn't it? It can be anything it wants to be. Doctor Who is not a creature. It is a TV program. So what he's actually saying, let's reword it, is Doctor Who's ability to be anything the showrunner or producer wants it to be. Right. Because it's a sci-fi show. It's a sci-fi show for the family market, but also pitched for kids. And we know that from the TV schedules from 63 onwards. So when he says it's to be anything it wants to be, let's be honest, and I'll be looking again today, is he making it more into a Queer as Folk 2 or 3? Is he making it into a Years and Years Light? Is he making it into something like that? Because I don't think he's actually changing his pitch. And it's not a fantasy show per se. It's not a comedy. It's not a soap opera. There are lots of things Doctor Who is definitely not, and other shows do better. Doctor Who is a survivor, he has just said. Doctor Who should not be reinvented. I'm going to show you in a minute. So why are you putting it into other domains it doesn't need to be? It just doesn't need to be, unless that's where you feel safe, RTD, and you feel better as a writer. Now, in this one, you can see I've got more problems, and this is where it all falls apart, I think. One of the things I thought coming into Doctor Who now, says RTD, was not to reinvent the wheel. Well, hallelujah. Let's all give a round of applause. Yes, please. Just carry on. Don't spoil it. In many ways, Doctor Who has never changed. Well, we'd love to say that. I'm not going to list all my my items again. I'm sure. But what you want to do is bring 2024 to it, he says. Alarm, alarm, red highlighter. You And I do that no matter what I'm writing, whether I'm writing about gay life in Manchester, politics in London, or nightlife in New York. I always want to make it look like today. The three examples he's given are fascinating. They're all metropolitan places, aren't they? They're all cities, Manchester, London, New York, which have a certain mindset and a certain level of tolerance that the rest of the nations and societies in that country are trying to catch up with, or are being forced to catch up with. I won't get down in the bowels of all the politics, but you know what I mean. And sometimes mindsets are very different. And so he's going, I always write to the city dweller. I always write about cutting edge city life. I mean, gay life in Manchester isn't all of Manchester. Politics in London, I think I know where he's going with that. But he's not talking about all normal London life. Nightlife in New York, that's quite niche. So in the way, he's comparing a children's family drama to cutting edge politics, cutting edge sexuality, cutting edge late night New York. Can't he adapt? Can't he change his writing for a different program? Or is he going to make the program fit what he always does? Look what he says it there. And the other thing I don't agree with is you want to make it very 2024. You make Doctor Who or you make any science fiction very 2024 or very 1980 or very 1996. And it looks like that forever. And it dates badly. And the effects will always date. But if the effects are dating badly, some of the content and the dialogue, if it's getting very political, as we know it has been, and then it's trying to depict at the time. Doctor Who is about escapism. It's not about getting bogged down. This sounds like a writer who's stuck in a groove and really is refusing to get out of it for the sake of a program that's bigger than him. Let's be honest. But didn't I start this program by saying he said he doesn't like anything changed in his writing, but he's very happy to change the program to fit his diet. Now, this I've shown before, but I'm using it in a different context now. Ncuti Gatwa, in one of his interviews, was saying Doctor Who always regenerates, always evolves. Well, yes, that word regenerates is doing an awful lot of heavy lifting here, actually, isn't it? An awful lot of heavy lifting. Yes, we know regeneration is in Doctor Who, but don't overuse that word to say we're going to do anything the hell we want now with the program. I feel like it's about time, and I'm here for all you dammers out there. I'm not going anywhere. He's kind of conflated two things, hasn't he? So basically, we've got a showrunner who says nobody messes with my script. Doctor Who has survived all these years because it hasn't really changed. I didn't feel the need in reinventing it, but I'm going to force 2024 into Doctor Who, whether it fits or not. And the examples he gives are very adult and very out there and very niche. And then, of course, we get a kind of slur or an insult or an attack, which is, so Doctor Who is going to change, says the lead actor, and you better, tough. So you get mixed messaging. We get the showrunner saying change, keep it the same, it survived, and it, really it should be respected. And now we've got the lead actor saying it regenerates all the time, blah, blah, blah. Now, look, I'm not stupid. The word regenerates makes sense in some respects because with a new producer like John Nathan Turner with season 18, with Barry Letts, who was taken on Derek Sherman's work and everything with 1970, we had Unit. We had a very different looking Tom Baker in season 18 and a different vibe, different style, different direction, different tone, but it was the same Doctor. And don't tell me that, it was a major change when he was exiled on Earth. That was a plot device. Did the Doctor change? No. Was he still about the same things? Yeah, he was just bogged down on Earth, that's all. So don't let the regenerates work do too much heavy lifting. And yes, I'll keep showing this quote because this quote fits with what's going to be said here. Millie Gibson in her interview said, some people might think this isn't the Doctor Who I know, but I'm really excited to see it. It's really cool that they're doing concepts like these and changing it up. Now, and this is when we start to hit another problem, which is, why? What are you thinking of doing? What are you thinking of doing with the show? Um, this isn't the Doctor Who I know. I thought RTD said we're not changing it. And now we've got the two lead actors saying it's changing and you dammers better get with it. And she's going, isn't it cool and exciting that it's a different type of Doctor Who? Oh, all these promises we got about, it's staying the same and it survived because it stayed the same, suddenly thrown out the window. And of course, RTD then joins in on that. It genuinely, I can never say that word, genuinely starts again. Who's interested in season 67 or whatever it is? We start again. We're not going to replay the series as greatest hits over and over, which I assume is the Master, the Daleks, and all that stuff. But we will do the Timeless Children, and we will do the bits I want, says RTD, but not all the others. And some of the others I will change, like Davros. So this new series is about no change. There's no need to change, no need for reinvention. But the lead actors, and then RTD says, it's all new and it's going to be different. Okay. And then, of course, he says, because nothing's changed, the Doctor's going to be very unstraight, very gay, full of queer energy, full of lightness and joy. And we're not delivering a neutered Doctor. The Doctor was all... it's a phrase I wouldn't use, and I said that last week. Neutered goes down the sexual line. But he said he's not changing the show. He said he's not reinventing things. He said this show survived because it's a survivor. It does things its own way. It's quintessentially British. And now what we're doing is we're saying, I've changed the Doctor's character. The two lead actors saying this is going to be very different, and if you don't like it, you're all dammers. I really don't understand why he thinks suddenly he's got to unstraighten the Doctor, suddenly gay him up. Like I said, as a gay man, I've got no problem with the actual topic. My problem is you're changing the program. And you said you wouldn't. I just don't like inconsistency. I don't like lies. And so, yeah, you've got a problem here. I just find every Doctor up to Jodie Whittaker was clearly played. If you say one, I don't even say straight in a way, because there was no concept of sexuality with them, really. Yes, the David Tennant Doctor seemed to have a penchant for Rose, not Martha. That's problematic. And just argue with Donna Noble. So Rose was a thorn in his side regarding straight, unstraight, because he seemed to have an interest. And even when Sarah Jane Smith came back, there seemed to be a little bit more there, as written by RTD. But the Doctor before that has never, ever, ever talked like that or thought like that. He's just got on with the adventure. And I just find it disappointing that he's decided that for 2024, we really need to go down this kind of highly sexualized concept and projection of the Doctor. And look, it's been promised. Gatwa says it. Shooty got her tease as the gayest Doctor ever. I've looked into that as a teacher, as you'd expect me to. Gayest doesn't have to mean he's going to be gay. It just means maybe more flamboyant or extravagant or camp. But why? I mean, is that just a tonal change? Because I think that's a character change. I really, really do. And then you come to other little clues out there. Millie Gibson said they're aiming to attract a lot of Gen Zs and go with the times and represent a lot of faces and themes that are really important to see on TV now. There's so many controversial elements to this season, the good sort of controversy, and it's what we need to see on our tellies, says the people who make the shows. So, controversial. I actually skipped that slide that I've shown you twice now about the gender pushing, societal pushing outfits, which is from Shooty Gatwa's own mouth, saying he was surprised at it himself. Obviously, came from on high, decision by RTD. So they do want to be controversial. They do want to be very metropolitan. And if he wants to be very 2024, the snag is a lot of the political issues are not settled matters. They're not agreed upon. Now, you could argue with me, I know, and say, look, politics is never a settled issue, but this is a very unsettled time in a lot of our countries over so many issues, the culture wars, etc. And he's diving into that, which I think is a minefield in itself. We don't need episode 3, the boom, to go there. So the other thing I'm fascinated by is Doctor Who. My understanding was with classic Doctor Who, they didn't pitch it at kids. They pitched it at family, and they knew the dads would like certain things. Yeah, we know. But they didn't pitch it at kids, so it wouldn't patronize. You had to elevate yourself. I've always said with the Target books and with the Doctor Who scripts, Genesis of the Daleks is one of my favorites to talk about the language. That as a kid, age 5, 6, the language was above me, but I got the gist of it. But I had to then look up when I was a bit older and I got the Target book what the hell genocide was. What the hell? I mean, there were so many keywords in that I could do a show on them. You really had to learn, and you had to elevate yourself. You weren't talked down to. This was not Peppa Pig in space. And I just worry about this. We're pitching at Gen Z. We're pitching at the younger ones with the slapstick humor and that. And if you think, well, where's your evidence? It's going to come. Don't you worry. And here we are again. I want to think about where we are in the world and what's happening to the world, says RTD. Now, I've put it in red. It's very important to bring that to it. Is it? And I know people will say Curse of Peladon was about, a UK entry into the EU, the EEC as was. Yeah, but it was light touch. It was an analogy. That was it. It didn't actually give you the answer. I suppose it led you a little bit. It made, if you didn't want to be in the EEC, it made you look a bit more backward, like the Peladonian miners and the religious Hepish, whereas it looked more forward thinking to join the Federation. I know it led you, but you had to join the dots yourself. You couldn't hear the screeching of brakes of something being kind of leveraged into the program. Green Death, yes, generally about the environment, but it was as much about the environment as the Wombles was. And so I'm not sure about this. It's very important to bring that to Doctor Who, a family and children's program. Is it? What about escapism? What about Doctor Who being all about resilience and all about tolerance and respect and love? And yes, anti-war if you want it to be, as Poetry's Doctor tended to be, but on a wider palette, just a wider, more general palette. I know good sci-fi from H.G. Wells onwards can actually be into the bowels of some debates, but their play is safe too. They just give you a hypothesis. But here, I'm not sure at all. But I do this automatically, says RTD. I don't have to put too much thought into it. Oh, God. I feel very trusted by the BBC and Disney. What did I say to you all last week? I said the brakes are off. He's like an absolute monarch. He's like King Louis XIV. He's like an Abankan monarch. He can do no wrong, and nobody will dare challenge him. And he's saying it again. Those people who every week say, Brendan, you've taken your quotes out of context. Brendan, do you have a clue? You're very anti this. Read, open your eyes, don't be deaf. Some people are just going, la, 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 la. Unbelievable. So he said it in different ways. They don't stop me. Nothing's ever censored or challenged. And I've put it in purple because I was running out of colours. It's a very fruitful relationship. Oh, I bet it is. Actually, I think Barry Letts and Terence Dicks as one example, and Philip Hinchcliffe and Robert Holmes as another, and actually even to a degree, Eric Saywood and John Nathan Turner, and even Christopher H. Bidmead and John Nathan Turner would disagree that you have to bounce off each other, argue, debate, discuss, and actually between the two of you, you make a decision about where you're going with a story or a program or an idea or a concept. And it's so rich, isn't it? That RTD is saying it's a very fruitful relationship when he's never censored, he's never challenged, nobody stops him, and they let him have his voice. Oh, I'd love a relationship like that. Has anyone got one? Please tell me. I've had a whole career where I never had a fruitful relationship, quite clearly. But he does like the new energy of our two actors. Well, hallelujah, you actually picked them. Right. This bit is where I'll lead to the new series. No spoilers, don't worry. He talks about Millie Gibson. He said, I had no idea how funny she was. She's like an expert comic. And therefore, she suits Doctor Who brilliantly. She has comic timing of someone that age. It's just amazing. what's this got to do with Doctor Who? Do you know, I always look back and think, Liz Sladen, your comic timing, wow. You know, Catherine Tate, I'll give her a dues. She was good. I like Donna Noble, but this is New Who. When you look at the old companions and that, you're going, oh, that comic timing. Oh, yeah. No, you did not. It was a drama, for God's sake. So why he's obsessed with that? And he says that those two kick off and it's all sparks and they're laughing at each other. What that has got to do with the drama, I do not know. And then it comes to, and this is my final item, but I am not here to scare us about the new season. I just don't like inconsistencies and mixed messaging. Now, those people particularly who've been saying, oh, Brendan, out of context, blah, blah, blah. Okay, then, let's look at all the reviews. There's no spoilers in here. I'll say it one more time. These are just key words that have come out of the reviews that tell us a few things. So basically, Space Babies has puerile toilet humor. It's lighter and funnier. It's got exhausting high energy. It's fun but forgettable. It's not making sense. So sometimes it's outlandish, Doctor Who, and brilliant. They're talking about the past. However, this looks whimsical, too far into outright silliness. That's not what I wanted from this great 2024 writer who doesn't want a word changed or improvised. Yeah, it's classic RTD, isn't it? We're going to have burping bins, you know, farting, you know, aliens. We're going to have silliness, toilet humor with space babies and nappies. Yeah, we know where we're going. It's too obvious. It's too lame. And look between the lines here with the reviewers from so many different newspapers. They're saying sometimes the plot doesn't make sense. In other words, the brass tacks haven't been done. Yes, it's got exhausting high energy. And we expect that from RTD. You want everything to be fast and speedy and everything, but sometimes it doesn't. It's all bluster without any substance. Look down near the bottom. It's an undercooked plot. And then there's some dangerous ones. It's got a Disney budget, dead obvious, but so are Russell T Davies's messages. Ncuti Gatwa shines among the clunky culture war posturing. We get stuff about refugees, immigration, and pro-choice in the very first episode. Nothing wrong with those issues. Nothing wrong with those topics. But if you're going to put them into a show, do it well. And here is not me talking. Look at the one above. Political and personal messages are awkward in this Space Babies. There's a discussion of abortion rights in the USA, and you could hear the sound of a crowbar scraping. Oh, right, that's well done. And if you're thinking undercooked plot, messages are rammed down your throat. It's funny and silly and whimsical and toilet humor, but everybody runs fast and everybody talks fast, right? Sounds similar. And then, of course, the first 10 minutes to win over new fans, we go to absurd lengths, says one reviewer, to accommodate these new fans. 10 minutes explaining why he's the Doctor, what Gallifrey is, how the TARDIS works and what it's called. Oh, is that what you call good writing? This man who says Doctor Who has survived, it doesn't need reinventing, and yet he's going to spend 10 minutes introducing Doctor Who to new fans. You either step on or you don't. So old fans, you'll have to hang around. Make another cup of tea and come in 10 minutes in, it sounds like to me. But be ready to have your headphones on for all the posturing, all the culture war messages, on all the stuff that in a Space Babies program, to me, it sounds like we're going to be in space. We're going to just have a white old wheeze looking at some kids who can talk. I think one of the reviews just said it is a bit like, look who's talking. And yeah, there's a bogeyman in the corner, and it's the end of that. You know, when you think of all our discussions about RTD and he's going, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do that, nobody should mess with me. Oh, I've got so many ideas. I'm going places with Doctor Who. And really, we land on a spaceship, babies talk. It's been done before, as in, look who's talking. And then I'm going to crank my messages in because that's what it's all about. But actually, have I thought the plot out? Not really. But hopefully you look at that fart joke and a filled nappy joke and we're all done. Yeah, I'm done here. Time Agent Brendan. Yeah, I think it's time I got out of here. What do you think, Willie? I think we should get out, shouldn't we? Because I am sick of talking about this. But Sunday, 7 p.m., Monday, 7 p.m., our 2 reviews are there. Different panels, all my criteria. Join us. This is Time Agent Brendan signing out. I need a breath, really, RTD.